Miller untouchable in tricky Friday conditions at Le Mans. The Australian was fastest in the mixed FP2 conditions to finish over a tenth clear of Vinales. Jack Miller, Pramac Racing, was untouchable in MotoGP trademark FP2 at the Shark Helmets Grand Prix de France as conditions dried out, with the riders negotiating a wet FP1 at Le Mans on Friday morning. On a drying track, Miller set a 1:34.356 to finish 0.144 clear of second-place Maverick Vinales, Monster Energy Yamaha MotoGP, with Takaki Nakagami, LCR Honda Idemitsu, completing the top three. As the riders emerged for free practice 2, track conditions were still very tricky after the morning session was fully wet. Valentino Rossi, Monster Energy Yamaha MotoGP, was first out on slick tires but was nearly 4 seconds slower than early pace-setter Mir, the Spaniard completing 2 flying laps on Michelin wet tires to set a 1:43.515. Miller and Quartararo were among 2 of a few riders who went on slick tires but immediately came back into pit lane, risks seemingly outweighing rewards in FP2. Johan Zarco, Sponsorama Racing, second fastest in FP1, was then lapping on wet tires and was over 5 seconds quicker than Rossi's time, confirming that track conditions weren't good enough for slick tire running yet. Zarco had got his time down to a 1:40.943, nearly 3 seconds quicker than Bradley Smith's, Aprilia Racing Team Gresini, FP1 pace, but a brave Australian was about to move the goalposts. "We've seen this before, haven't we?" Miller out on slick tires in iffy conditions and setting red sector times. The Pramac star slammed in a 1:39 and then got down to a 1:37.738 to go 2 seconds quicker than Zarco. Miller proving it could well be slick tire territory in France with half an hour of Friday's action to go. Miller was then well into the 1:36s and lapping over 3 seconds quicker than anyone else. This, of course, convinced some of the riders to come out on the slicks, with Mir then slotting into second on the soft combination, 3.2 seconds adrift of the Ducati man. With 20 minutes left on the clock, Mir had chopped Miller's advantage down to under 2 seconds, before Iker Lecuona, Red Bull KTM TECH3, then shot up to P2 with a 1:36.967, 0.535 off Miller. All the riders were now out on circuit and the times were going to continually tumble. Nakagami demoted Miller to P2 before Alex Rins, Team Suzuki Xter, then went P1. However, Nakagami then returned to the top to become the first rider to dip into the 1:35s. Orange and red sector times filled the timing screens. With around 10 minutes left, it was clear that the riders were starting to push. For some, too much. Aprilia duo Smith and Alex Espargaro were down at turn 12 and turn 3 respectively, Smith suffering a nasty-looking highside but was able to walk away from the scene, albeit gingerly. Then, Dovizioso crashed. We don't say that too often, but the Italian slid into the gravel at turn 3. Rider OK. In the meantime, Rossi had slotted himself into P4 behind Nakagami, Alex Rins, Team Suzuki Xter, and Lecuona. Miller had been shuffled down to P5. Then, the injured warrior Cal Crutchlow, LCR Honda Castrol, found himself at the summit, but it wasn't for long. Franco Morbidelli, Petronas Yamaha SRT, and then Miller again beat the British rider's time. Miller went 0.8s quicker than anyone to once again move the goalposts into a different ballpark. Vinales then cut the gap to half a second to place himself P2 after running off and into the gravel a lap earlier at turn 8. Danilo Petrucci, Ducati team, third place in FP1, launched into P2 before Nakagami went quicker to sit 0.291 behind Miller with a minute to go. Nakagami set 3 red sectors, but the Japanese rider suffered a small tip-off at turn 11. Rider OK. Miller had no such worries though. The Aussie went faster again, the lap later getting cancelled because of yellow flags, and looked by far and away the most comfortable rider on track in the afternoon. Couple that with a P4 in FP1 and Miller looks bang in form in France. Eventually, Miller finished 0.144 clear of the field with good mate Vinales slotting into P2 on his final flying lap. He too went well in both conditions after finishing P6 on Friday morning. Completing the top 3 on Friday, despite the late crash, was Nakagami. Incidentally, his late crash saw Zarco's, Rossi's and Rin's final laps cancelled, seeing the trio slip down the order at the checkered flag. In the wet conditions, Nakagami didn't fare so well after taking P17, but he'll be buoyed by a P3 finish in the tricky afternoon session. Petrucci ended the day P4 to make it a good Friday for the Italian. He leads 5th place Crutchlow as the duo claim double top 10s in FP1 and FP2 to head into Saturdays in good shape. Alex Marquez, Repsol Honda team, got his first taste of wet weather MotoGP trademark action on Friday morning, and the reigning Moto2 trademark world champion was impressive to finish P14 and just over a second away from Smith's time. In the afternoon, Marquez again went well to claim P6 on day 1. Morbidelli and Paul Espargaro, Red Bull KTM Factory Racing, finished P7 and P8 respectively, another 2 riders to be inside the leading 10 riders in both the wet and dry-ish conditions. Mir was able to claim P9 on the opening day to finish just over a second off Miller's time. Mir ended the wet FP1 session in P13 as the main title contenders didn't really trouble the top positions on day 1. Zarco claimed P10 in the dry conditions to head countryman Quartararo as the title leader finishes outside the top 10 in both wet and dry conditions, a quiet day at the office for the Frenchman. As previously mentioned though, Friday's running in Le Mans was treacherous. A nasty crash in FP1 or FP2 could prove costly, and with the weather suggesting the rest of the weekend will be dry, no unnecessary risks needed to be taken. Brad Binder, Red Bull KTM Factory Racing, crashed in the latter stages at Turn 7 rider OK. What will the conditions bring for Saturday, and can anyone take the fight to Miller ahead of qualifying? Find out at 9:55 local time, GMT+2. When the Premier class head out for a vital FP3, with the top 10 automatic Q2 places being decided. Tune in. Combined top 10, 1. Jack Miller, Pramac Racing, 134.356.2. Maverick Vinales, Monster Energy Yamaha MotoGP, plus 0.1443. Takaki Nakagami, LCR Honda Idemitsu, plus 0.5014. Danilo Petrucci, Ducati Team, plus 0.6985. Cal Crutchlow, LCR Honda Castrol, plus 0.7856. Alex Marquez, Repsol Honda Team, plus 0.9817. Franco Morbidelli, Petronas Yamaha SRT, plus 1.0138. Paul Espargaro, Red Bull KTM Factory Racing, plus 1.0189. Joan Mir, Team Suzuki Xter, plus 1.02910. Johan Zarco, Esponsorama Racing, plus 1.052.